In a bustling city full of dreams and opportunities, there lived a young woman named Emily. Emily had always been a strong and independent person, determined to carve out a successful career for herself. She worked tirelessly as a nurse, dedicating her life to caring for others. Her days were filled with long hours at the hospital, where she comforted patients, administered treatments, and worked alongside doctors to save lives. But Emily's strength was tested in ways she had never expected when she met Daniel. Daniel was a fellow nurse, kind-hearted and full of life. His laughter could light up even the darkest of days. And soon, Emily found herself falling in love. Their relationship blossomed quickly, and they became each other's support system, both in and out of the hospital. However, their happiness was soon overshadowed by a devastating diagnosis. Daniel was diagnosed with a rare and aggressive form of cancer. The news hit them like a tidal wave, shattering the joy they had found in each other. Suddenly, their lives were filled with doctors' appointments, treatments, and the constant fear of what lay ahead. Despite the pain and uncertainty, Emily refused to leave Daniel's side. She became his caregiver, using her medical knowledge to support him through every step of his treatment. But the burden was heavy. Watching the man she loved suffer was more painful than anything she had ever faced. She felt helpless, angry, and scared. As Daniel's condition worsened, Emily struggled to keep going. She continued to work at the hospital during the day and spent her nights by Daniel's side. Exhaustion set in, and there were moments when she wanted to give up, but she knew that Daniel needed her, and that gave her the strength to carry on. One night, as Emily sat by Daniel's bedside, he took her hand and whispered, "You've given me so much love and strength, Emily. But you need to take care of yourself too. Promise me that you'll keep living, no matter what happens." Emily nodded, tears streaming down her face. She promised Daniel that she would keep living, even when it felt impossible. She knew that he wouldn't want her to lose herself in her grief. When Daniel passed away a few weeks later, Emily's world fell apart. The pain was unbearable, and she felt like a part of her had died with him. For a long time, she struggled to find a reason to keep going. But as she remembered Daniel's words, she knew she had to honor his memory by continuing to live. Emily took time to heal, leaning on her friends and family for support. She began to find solace in small things: a walk in the park, a good book, the warmth of the sun on her face. Slowly, she returned to work, knowing that her experience with Daniel had made her an even more compassionate nurse. Over time, Emily found a new sense of purpose in her work. She started a support group for families of cancer patients, offering them the same love and strength that she had given Daniel. She shared her story, not to dwell on her loss, but to show others that it was possible to survive and even thrive after such immense pain. Emily's life had been marked by struggle and loss, but she had also experienced the deepest kind of love. And in the end, it was that love that gave her the strength to keep going, to find new meaning in her life, and to help others facing their own battles. After Daniel's passing, Emily was left to navigate life without the person who had been her rock. The days that followed were a blur of grief and emptiness. Emily found herself going through the motions, but she felt disconnected from the world around her. The once vibrant woman, who had dedicated her life to helping others, now struggled to find the energy to care for herself. Returning to work at the hospital was one of the hardest things Emily had ever done. Everywhere she looked, she was reminded of Daniel, the places they had shared, the patients they had cared for together. Each room held a memory, and each shift felt like an insurmountable challenge. Emily's colleagues noticed the change in her and tried to offer support, but she found it difficult to accept help. She didn't want to burden others with her pain. In those early days, Emily's mind was a storm of emotions. She was angry that Daniel had been taken from her, guilty that she couldn't save him, and overwhelmed by the loneliness that now consumed her. There were moments when she questioned whether she could continue living without him, but in her heart, she knew that giving up would mean breaking the promise she had made to Daniel. One afternoon, as Emily was finishing her shift, she encountered a patient named Mrs. Reynolds, an elderly woman with a warm smile. Mrs. Reynolds had been admitted to the hospital with a serious heart condition. Emily had been her nurse several times before, and the two had developed a bond over their shared love of reading. As Emily entered her room, Mrs. Reynolds looked up from her book and said, "Emily, my dear, you look tired. You've been carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders, haven't you?" Emily forced a smile, trying to hide the tears that threatened to spill over. "It's just been a long day, Mrs. Reynolds. How are you feeling?" But Mrs. Reynolds wasn't easily fooled. She patted the chair beside her bed, inviting Emily to sit down. "Come here, dear, let's talk for a bit." Reluctantly, Emily sat down, unsure of how to express the storm of emotions inside her. Mrs. Reynolds took her hand and said, "I may be old, but I know what it's like to lose someone you love. It feels like your heart is breaking, and you wonder how you'll ever go on. But you're not alone, Emily. You have people who care about you, and it's okay to lean on them." Emily couldn't hold back her tears any longer. She began to cry, releasing the pent-up sorrow that she had been holding inside. Mrs. Reynolds didn't say anything more. She simply held Emily's hand, offering silent comfort in the way only someone who had experienced loss could. After that day, Emily began to take small steps towards healing. She started to open up to her friends and colleagues, allowing them to support her in ways she hadn't before. It wasn't easy, and there were still days when the grief felt overwhelming, but Emily was no longer facing it alone. She also began to find solace in helping others who were going through similar struggles. Emily knew what it was like to feel lost and alone, and she wanted to use her experience to guide others through their pain. She started volunteering at a local support group for people who had lost loved ones to cancer. At first, it was difficult for her to relive her own loss, but she found comfort in knowing that she was helping others find their way through the darkness. Emily's journey was far from over. She still missed Daniel every day, and there were moments when the grief resurfaced, catching her off guard. But she had learned that it was okay to feel the pain, that it was a part of healing, and with each passing day, she grew stronger. Emily found that the love she had shared with Daniel wasn't gone. It had simply changed form. It was now a source of strength, guiding her through her own healing and inspiring her to help others. She knew that Daniel would have wanted her to live fully and find happiness again, and she was determined to honor his memory by doing just that. Vocabulary 1. Tirelessly. Working very hard without stopping. Emily worked tirelessly as a nurse, dedicating her life to caring for others. 2. Blossomed. Developed in a promising or healthy way. Their relationship blossomed quickly. 3. Diagnosis. The identification of an illness or medical condition. Daniel was diagnosed with a rare and aggressive form of cancer. 4. Uncertainty. The state of being unsure about the future. Despite the pain and uncertainty, Emily refused to leave Daniel's side. 5. Caregiver. A person who takes care of someone who is sick or elderly. Emily became his caregiver, using her medical knowledge to support him. Morals. 1. Strength in adversity. Even in the darkest times, inner strength and love can guide you through. 2. The power of love. Love can provide strength and purpose, even in the face of overwhelming challenges. 3. Self-care is important. Taking care of yourself is crucial. even when caring for others. 4. Finding purpose in pain. Turning your struggles into a way to help others can bring meaning to your life. 5. Grief is a journey. Healing takes time, but it's possible to find peace and purpose after loss. Thank you for watching and listening. Your support truly means the world to me. I hope you found the content enjoyable and engaging. I'm excited to continue this journey with you.